Now, most of you who are listening to us today probably don't necessarily think of parking cars as being relevant to various travel trends, but it is amazing what you will learn from Michelle Harris at Park and Fly. Because Michelle, when you and I chatted at the Air Canada Vacations Women's Lunch, I got fascinated with what you were telling us about the peaks and valleys and what you're seeing at Park and Fly and how it reflects what's going on in the industry. So we started to talk about the fact that, we're seeing a different type of pattern in the marketplace than we normally would because of so many different things that are going on in the world. And you said, yes, yes, I'm seeing that in the patterns at Park and Fly. So talk to me a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Nina. And I'm so glad that we were able to pique your interest. I sometimes people don't think parking is the most exciting category, but I'll tell you, it can be. It's very exciting. So, yeah, I mean, we are definitely impacted by the same trends that all of our other supplier friends are impacted by, whether it be increases to demand or events that, weather related or some of the
Right.
other impacts that we're seeing definitely have an immediate impact on our business. If the weather shifts and there is a storm that affects people getting out, that will definitely have an impact on our ability to manage all of the reservations that we had planned for. So we may see that shift. We may see other impacts where Cuba, for example, that demand around March break, it's yet to be seen, but it may have softened slightly because of that demand or any other travel impacts, whether it be flights or location specific events. We really do see those shifts.
So you'll
And
see
again,
sudden influx of reservations and cars because of something that's going on, or you'll suddenly see a real backing off. So tell me, how does weather affect that?
weather really plays an impact on our business, especially in cities where we have valet facilities. So,
Right.
in cities such as Vancouver, where not everyone may have snow tires on their vehicles, if they get hit by one of those storms every couple of years, it makes it difficult for our operations team to be able to get those vehicles, take them in and have them ready on the return. We're used to it and we know that we live in Canada and winter happens. So we have a leg up and we have the ability to, increase our staffing to make sure that the customers don't see that impact, but it does make the business a little more difficult to operate whenever we get hit with those snow or ice events.
Operations. I mean, that's really probably the key here for you at Park and Fly because you don't want to have cars backed up, right? Waiting to be handled. So you have to suddenly call in a lot of people or or let them go home and have the day off if there's a world event that suddenly cuts back on flights. So how does that work?
Well, our operations team, the majority of our teams have been in the positions that they hold for a very long time. So they're used to it. They're used to the stress. They're used to being able to pivot and make sure that, again, behind the scenes, we're handling it and the customer still can is guaranteed to have a seamless experience, whether it's dropping off or picking up their vehicle. The customer will not see any of that happen. But like I said, it's all about experience, planning, and making sure that we're on top of it. We have, for the most part, most of our business segments now, that business comes in via a reservation. So we're able to predict and forecast how many vehicles we're getting in at any day. So that also helps. But again,
And then
it's
you
all
have to
about
match that with the incoming flight so that, especially if it's been valeted, you have to make sure that if the flight's late, like it's the connections between the flights and the cars is very symbiotic.
Definitely. And again, it's all a matter of having the systems and processes in place, having the staff that are trained, and the management team with the experience. We've been in business for over 50 years, so
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a very long time.
Okay, so over the 50 years, or even just over the last 10 years, has usage of park and fly increased, decreased, stayed the same?
We have definitely increased our business. We've increased it through growth, whether it be through acquisition or new facilities that we've added on, as well as just increases in capacity. So definitely we've grown. I've been with Park and Fly almost 10 years, and we've grown substantially. And from, what the business looked like 50 years ago is definitely different than what it looks like now.
And has usage of valet parking increased along with people, having more disposable income and looking for more comforts?
It definitely, we're seeing that not only in the older demographics, the 40 plus, but we're also seeing it in the 30 to 40-year-old demographic. In Toronto specifically, where we have multiple service offerings, we have economy, 2 self-park lots, and the valet lot. Our valet facility definitely is an in-demand facility. It's the best option, right? It's a seamless end-to-end. You're taken care of. You come back, your car is ready. So we're definitely seeing that more travelers want that full service experience, and they're willing to pay a little bit more for that.
Right.
There's definitely those consumers that are more budget conscious and will opt, to keep their keys and choose one of the other options, whether it be self-park or economy. But we're seeing, especially again in Toronto and some of the other cities where we have multiple offerings, Montreal and Winnipeg, that again, the valet experience is the best experience.
Because for people who live outside the city centers, outside the airport centers, 3, 4 hours away, if you're going away on a 2-week vacation, parking at the airport, you'd need to take out a mortgage on your house if you're going to leave your car at the airport. So really, Park and Fly is the only option for people out of town. So is most of the clientele people who are out of town, or is it a mixture?
I would say it's a mixture. It also depends on whether it's corporate or leisure travel. And
Okay.
it depends on the region as well. So there are some nuances across the country, but I would say in general that definitely our radius, our sweet spot is typically between 3 and maybe 400 kilometers, again, depending on the province. And definitely, those are the travelers where it makes most sense. An Uber is going to be far too expensive
Sure.
to do that. You're not going to be able to most likely convince a friend or a family member to want to drive you and pick you up from the airport. And yeah, Park and Fly from a economics perspective, it does make the most sense. And when you come back, you can hop in your own car and either go back to the office or drive back home.
Yeah.
So yes,
Does it ever
definitely, that's
happen?
a great point.
Does it ever happen in peak travel seasons that you're full, that you do not have any space in any of the lots?
That's a great question. We
Is
do
it?
see that. Yeah, we do see that that during our peak periods. So perhaps during spring break, or over the holiday season, we do see that in some markets. Toronto, we may see it. However, in Toronto, we have a little more access to capacity and the ability to upgrade people so that it frees up space in other lots if we need to. So we're pretty nimble in Toronto. In Montreal, as some travelers that have traveled out of Montreal Pierre Elliott Airport have maybe experienced, the construction has posed a challenge. So in Montreal, we have been sold out more often than not recently. So we really urge our customers in all cities, but especially in Montreal, to make sure that you have a reservation that will ensure that despite us being full, there'll always be a spot for you.
So how does Park and Fly manage it?
Well, our recommendation to all of our travelers and our agent partners is to recommend every traveler gives themselves enough time in order to get into the airport. So if they choose Park and Fly, our shuttles are on a continuous loop,
Right.
and we'll get you into the airport as quickly as we can.
And Michelle, ultimately, it's completely out of your control. It's out of everyone's control. I mean, it is construction. So there's nothing any of us can do about it but try and get there early, as you said, and deal with it. But wow, how frustrating for the people in Montreal who are, trying to get to their flight. Yeah, not the fun part. Now, at the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned the fact that March break, I thought I heard you say it's not really materializing the way it has in the past. And I'm hearing a variety of feedback from advisors as to, what's going on this year. And you would certainly know because you're at the pulse of it.
Yes, so I think it's too early for us to say. I think we're very optimistic in most
Okay.
cities that it will be a strong. We won't know until everyone returns next weekend, when all the checkouts happen. So, but we're tracking obviously the volume of cars coming in. It looks promising, as I said, in many cities that we service. So I think it'll be a promising spring break and the end of our first quarter. As for the rest of the year, we're keeping our ear to the ground and, thank all of our travel agent partners and the agents who, answer all of the questions that our team comes out into the marketplace and asks,
Right.
just so we can kind of get a firsthand account of what people are seeing in the market as it
Yeah.
comes to bookings, cancellations, future
How far
bookings,
in
and all that kind of
advance?
stuff.
How far in advance do people have to book normally?
We recommend that travelers book within a week or two of departure. But we are seeing that there are certain travelers who are looking to book farther out. So I would say most of our bookings happen within 5 to 7 days of departure.
Makes sense.
But there are, like I said, some other travelers that would rather, get that kind of taken care of when they're booking or maybe a couple of months out, which is fine. But like I said, for the most part, people don't start thinking about how they're going to get to the airport
No, sure.
until about a week before, right? When they're thinking about their luggage and checking in and all that fun stuff.
So good. So from now on, when I want to know what's going on and how busy the industry is, I don't need to look at flights and booking patterns. I can just call Michelle and say, "Hey, how's the parking lot doing?" Right?
Yeah.
You will be able to tell me if it's busy out there or not. I love it. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Michelle. It's not a part of the industry that we often think of. It's sort of, it's park and fly, it's in the background, it does what it has to do, but it is an integral part of the functioning of the industry. So I think it's good to talk about it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Nina.